Can you guys guess what I'm doing for dinner? Hmm. I bet it's something to do with eggs. Well, I actually went into town to go buy a dozen. And as I'm walking in, well, as I'm walking out of the store, come across a German guy again. And say hello. Blah, blah, blah. Take off. I walk 2 kilometers back into town. He's beat me because he got a car. And he waves me into his place. And then he gives me eggs. So, but not many, just two. Just a two. But still, it's free. Like, these are fresh. So, I got a pizza. It was at €1.20. So we got the tomato sauce on it. I didn't really want to do cheese. Not in the mood for cheese. Just the eggs. I'm going to throw it on there and make it a breakfast burrito. Breakfast pizza burrito. Yeah. And let's see, we got the red pepper. Sure. We got the garlic clove. It'll smell fantastic later. Could just get my knife, but it's buried. No, I'm gonna get it. I can smell it already. Put it there. The pan only takes like a minute to heat up, so obviously I'm going to save the gas. There's 1 clove. Yeah, it smells good. Gotta keep the vampires away at night, you know? I truly believe there's vampires in this world. Well, I've come across them. Energy vampires for sure. You know those ones that just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And you try to get away because you like, yeah, you got better things to do in your life, and they follow you, or they keep you from going. Yeah, I've come across a lot of those. Our last next door neighbor was like that. She would just keep on going. You could feel the life just go out of you. Just start falling asleep. Or once she's got you trapped anyway. Start falling asleep. Then you wake up and you're like, oh, I gotta find some way to get out of it. But she knows because she wants to keep feeding. She wants to drain your life force until nothing's left, and then you go on to the next victim. Yes, people, they are real. The blood-sucking ones, they're a different story. Right outside that spectrum of light we can only see. Oh, we'll get into that another day. So I feel kind of drained today. I don't know why. I went into the sun. Got a lot of good sun. Was it the supermarket? Yeah, every time I go into the supermarket, now that I think about it, here in town, I just start getting drained. Like my back hurts, my lower, or where my kidneys are located, they start hurting. Every time I go in there, now that I think about it. It's weird. Okay, so we got a little bit of garlic. These are fresh. These were laid like a couple hours ago. Keep saying I'm gonna get that rock to stabilize this thing. Yeah, so I'm getting excited about Mount Etna the more I keep looking at it. It's definitely a very big variant of terrain and conditions. By the time I get up to the top, it's going to look like black desert, or black sand desert, versus down here, which is, well, an Olive Garden. But Sicily, man, Sicily's got all kinds of crazy terrains going on. There's caves on the map, you see. Caves, I guess you can kind of wander into. I'm sure they've been used for thousands of years for who knows what. What else? Maybe some hot springs. That'd be fantastic. I'd love to take like a true hot mineral bath. Yeah, that smells awesome. So this is my dinner tonight. You can see the color for sure. And the yolk. This one being a lighter yellow, and this is like a deeper orange. The deeper orange ones were just laid. I mean, these come from Italy as well, but obviously they're farmed and stamped. I don't think the chickens he's got are going to stamp their own egg coming out of their butt. Not that eggs come out of their butt, but I never really paid attention to how they come out. I just know they get laid. Yes, people, this is my attempt at jokes at the moment. They're horrible. We should get some paper towels. I'll wash my hands a little bit. All right, started. You going? Yes, you are. Fantastic. Flame. This is the egg bag. Not bad for $1. Equivalent says $1.50 for this. What would you pay in the States of like Domino's or Papa John's? $15? I mean, if you just for the base of the pizza, add a little extra cheese, maybe some pepperoni, and choose up to $20 per pie. Food is cheap here and everything is fresh. I know I'm not laying this just on the ground, there's plastic underneath it obviously. Well, when you're under these conditions, it doesn't really matter. You just eat some fish. All right. And normally I like using cast iron to always cook because the flavor just maintains throughout every meal. It's a lot healthier and it doesn't have those forever chemicals like the Teflon, but that's at least another 5 or 6 pounds if this was iron. This thing probably weighs about 1.5 pounds, about half a kilo. And it adds up. When you start throwing all this stuff in your backpack, it adds up. So if you decide to make the trip with me, get the lightest material you can find. Whatever it may be, because it will definitely make a difference in how long you can go. Eventually I'm going to get to my storytelling. Green tea for that. Wake up juice. There's a lot of stories I gotta cover. being in the military, Iraq, Afghanistan, prison. At one point I was a drug dealer. At another point I was recreating the red light district for Amsterdam and Colorado. I'm not going to use the word pimp, but I did create a brothel within the Denver city limits. What else? I married 3 times. The third one was to as I talked about before, she was Muslim. Very big difference in the way we think. I mean, as far trying to get 2 opposite ends to be in the same household is very, very difficult. What else? Obviously, I lived in Europe, lived in Germany for a while, lived in Mexico for a while. That's right, yeah, Cabo San Lucas. That's when I dipped out. I hid from the U.S. government in Cabo until the federales found me. And I was starting my work for the cartel. Very true stories. During that time frame down there, I was like the king of spring break in 2017. I had access to a lot of MDMA. Ultimately, what I had available in Cabo was about 2 kilos worth. So you can imagine during spring break what that would have looked like. Yes, these are my criminal days. I did my excursion out to Prague not too long ago, where I threw all of my identification, all of my money, everything off of Charles Bridge into the river. I told the police, after I walked 150 kilometers on railroad tracks, because the city of Prague can be very misleading on directions. I walked 150 kilometers back into Germany to then find my way back to the city where I established residence to tell them that I dropped into the river or went over the side. Yes, I did allude to them saying I may or may have not lied, depending on how my memory was, whether I threw it in or I dropped or accidentally dropped it, one of the two. Either way, that's how I have no documentation for anything. But that was in check, right? I'm in Sicily now. I still don't have documentation, per se. Now I'm putting this over YouTube because maybe it's fictional, maybe it's not fictional. That's the guesswork. That I really don't need people reporting me. A lost boy in Sicily. However, when you look at the migration happening across the southern border of the United States, do I really seem like that much of a threat? No. I clean up after myself. I'm nice to everybody I come across. People give me cake and eggs. And I just want to be happy for once. I don't want to be tied to the norms. I don't want to be tied to a job, 9 to 5. I worked for Daphner in Germany, right? Working my butt off. As a jumper, I get called to these different places that the original employees were out sick or whatever else. You know what my job was? I was a janitor. Of all the things I've done in my life, well, one thing that truly did humble myself, which brought me much closer to Christ than ever before, because during my cleaning time, I would put in my headphones and I just listened to countless testimonies and Bible stories or studies and who God was and who Jesus is and who the Holy Spirit is, because before that I really didn't know. But God, Christ, They pulled me out of some very, very unique situations. They've always had my back. I didn't know. And one of the things is to talk about my testimonies. Man, do I have some testimonies for you. I have spent the last 12 years around people very close to me that have been influenced by the demonic forces to the point where their bodies were fully taken over. My second wife was like this. Every night for 3 years, to the untrained eye, it looked like she was going through horrible night terrors. Once I started picking up on what was happening, and ultimately my fear, my anxiety, my unknowing of anything of the other realms disappeared, I started working with it, understanding it, and there's like kind of days before YouTube where I was just kicking up, so really no knowledge out there for me to just grab me like, hey, this is how you do this. No, I learned how to do full-on exorcisms on my own. And I learned over the course of those 3 years on this one person that just was constantly influenced. And then after that, others showed up in my life that needed the same services. So I've done deliverances. Accidentally, purposely, I don't know. But God will never give you more than you can handle. Well, He never left me. The situations never left me. And when I got to Prague, I had seen full force what the 9 circles, 12 circles, I swear there was 13 levels. 13 levels of what hell looks like. This is my version. In full contrast, full reality. I watched groups of people go by that all had the same faces. Very hard one to explain. So imagine you walk past a person and you're like, oh, okay, you just noticed, right? And then a minute later you walk past the person and you're like, wait, didn't I just see that person? Deja vu? Okay. No, when it happens 15 or 16 or 17 times over, groups of people with the same faces, you know something's up. Well, anyway, I was led, or rather I was shown by Christ. I know I had some major protection in Prague. Man, my body was never so cold. Bone-chilling cold, like a true absence of God in this area. And I walked all over that city until I found what I was looking for. After Charles Bridge, I walked up to, well, before I threw everything in the river, I walked up to one of the cathedrals that was lit up. And I found my way into this hotel that was, the streets before were all guarded by the police there, which was odd. Nobody noticed me walk past them. Then I get to the door of this place, and it says this is private entrance only. You have to turn around and walk back 3 minutes. I pushed past it. I went into the hotel. Just this. Sorry guys, 1 second. No, I'm ruining the video. Come on. See, I'm gonna do a small testimony. This is what happens. All right, hold on. Just stay. Okay. Watch me eat my pizza. So, I walk across the bridge. I go past the guards, the police for that matter. I go to the hotel, and I asked if they had a restaurant where I can get some tea at. Now, the person, oh no, sorry, I asked also beforehand, oh, what does it run per night for the rooms? And he didn't question anything. He just said between 600 to 800 euros a night. I'm like, okay. Now, where I'm walking, where I walked up to, was definitely one of the highest points within Prague. So you could see everything. So he told me where the restaurant was. I walked through some corridors. The place looked old, very old. And I get to this little lobby area. And behind this single podium is this bottle of, I don't know, wine, cognac, I don't know. But it's in the shape of a heart, and it's like this big. It was like the symbol for that entire place. The bottle was worth. It had other select wines around it, but like these were choice premium liquors or wines for the elite visiting inside of Prague. Now, I'm starting halfway through the story. At some point I have to cover the first half of this, but we're going to get to the juiciest part. So I'm like, okay. Now keep in mind, for whatever reason, I'm dressed in camouflage. I've got my camo pants on. I got a black t-shirt. I think it was a beanie of some type. Undress as much as I can to look kind of normal, even though I'm not really at all in this place. And I walk up these stairs, and there's a table. This entire restaurant. Oh, wait, let me back up. When I walked around the corridor, before I got to the lobby, I had to take an elevator. Okay? Now, I got inside the elevator. I pressed the restaurant button, which was pointing downwards. But I know that I have to go upwards because that's where the overview is, one of the highest points. I kid you not, that when I pressed that button, it took maybe about 5 minutes. The elevator was going down, and my feet were getting hot, like really hot. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm taking an elevator to hell. I'm on a crazy experience. Why not do it? Oh, I'm sober, by the way. Completely sober for this. And so, as I said, the liquor bottle, I walk up, then from that point, up another set of stairs, and I see the view of Prague. Like, I am high up like I am now. Like, you just see Prague. But the elevator clearly went down. Okay, whatever, look past it. There are 3 gentlemen sitting at a table, and they all kind of look like me. Very friendly looking. And I just randomly walk over, and I could tell that these guys were worth some serious money. I asked them if I can sit down. And they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. But just something was not right from the moment I seen them. It was like they were expecting me because there was one chair open, perfectly aligned for me to come in and feel welcome enough to sit down. Normally I don't do this. Like, I'll go out and talk to people and do some things, but I'm on a whole nother social level. Like, the 3 of these guys combined were probably worth as much as Bill Gates. But I started noticing very quickly how things were going. They were all there tasting their fine wine and their dinner and whatever else. But like the portions were like tiny. It was like just the taste that they were after. And they taste something, and I swear to you, like the guy across the table would be like, that's good. And then the other guy would do it like, oh, that's good. So the way I could explain this was one guy was tasting the food, and the rest of them were experiencing it as well. And then I tried to overlook it. The Waiters, they looked like they were expecting me as well. Knew I wanted tea. They brought it pretty much as soon as I asked for it. Ready to go. And then I had one of the strangest conversations I've ever had in my entire life. These guys talked in present terms, about spirituality in a way that the past, present, and future all were in that exact moment. And I asked inquisitive questions like, how do I become like you? Have I been here before? Have you been here before? And actually, one of the questions that I asked when I asked, have I been here before? They all kind of looked at me and they're like, no, you haven't been here before. As if they didn't want to tell me. And one of them was like, oh, but he sat there before and he sat there before. And I'm like life cycles, like keep going at the same point. So I'm looking at the overview of Prague, and one of them, I start noticing, is threatened by me. His hand starts taking the knife on the table and he starts sliding it underneath his palm. I'm watching this, I'm like, why is he doing this? As the other one is talking about when the Romans came through across that bridge, Charles Bridge, when the Third Reich, the Nazi regime, came through, but he talked in a way that he was there and present and watched it from that point of view in the past. I'm giving you the small clips. It was like I found the very most upper echelon of who runs the world sitting at this table. Well, one of them part of a family, or three of the shadow government, right? Let's put it this way. There was something so off about them. And the fact that they were expecting me to be at that table, out of all the craziness that went on in Prague that prior night, for the things I was doing. The way they were talking was in a way that they were offering me a position to sit there at the table longer, is the way I read it. And halfway through my tea, as I can feel this negative energy just start to leak through, just the worst of the worst. This is me 12 years later after experiencing many encounters of all kinds of craziness on this planet. Every bone in my body, all of my sparkly senses said, you need to go. Reject any offer that they're making you. Do not indulge in what they're doing. I did that. I politely said, you know what, guys, I thank you for the tea, but I think it's time to go. And I got up from the chair and I walked out of the restaurant, walked to a different side of the elevator, which boggled my mind, hit the button that went up but down, or down but up. It was just very strange and reversed. I made a beeline for that front door of the hotel. I got down to Charles Bridge, and then I just had the biggest inclination to then throw everything into the river that identified me as me. From that point on, everything went absolutely haywire. It was like the entire all of Prague was out to hunt me. I kept seeing the same faces over and over again. I mean, just walking past, just staring like something out of the Matrix. When let me think about this. When the population started paying, no, not the Matrix. What's the movie where like they're in a dream world and they flip over the reality, and I could see the city on top of the city, but then it was like a dream within a dream within a dream, like whatever movie, whatever that's called. And when you started changing things, everybody started paying attention to you, like everybody, but then they looked at you like you were their enemy. That's what the entire city felt like. And I had nothing to my name. I had a backpack in Prague, in Europe. So, I'm gonna eat some of this pizza. It's now cold, but it's okay. I'll get into some of a crazy story. It's just one little piece of it. So now, taco pizza. I walk down Charles Bridge to the other side, hook a right, head down the river. Or which way is the river flowing? Is it up the river? All right, anyway, opposite side for the cathedrals. Made it to the other side, took a right. Everybody's just staring me down. Oh, memory's being blocked. Oh yeah, so all of my spidey senses are going nuts. I've got what feels like at the time the Holy Spirit or some guardian angel telling me exactly what to do at every moment to get out of that city. Get far away from them. I walk maybe a half a kilometer at a very fast pace, and I see this lit up area that is approximately 50 meters by maybe 100 meters in an oval diameter. In it has a monument. The monument is then surrounded, what's about, in feet, it's probably about 50 or 60 feet tall, and it is surrounded with angels, concrete angels. And in the middle is a horse with, I think, was another angel riding it or something. I don't know if it's from a Roman Catholic or regardless. You can look it up on Google Maps. You will find it, and it's only it's a small area next to the street, next to the river. The grass was green. That night was very cold. It started like doing that rain, ice, foggy stuff, right? I had just what I had on, and then the Lord actually closed my backpack, and I'm decked out in all my camouflage. On my right shoulder is a patch of the crucifix. On the left is a skull. That was my two patches. I'm decked out in scorpion camouflage, or the scorpion camo, right? My boots from Under Armour, exact same way. My pants, my jacket, right? I'm decked out. I'm like, all right, I am on a mission to get out of here without being seen, to like truly ghost. So something tells me to go into this park and get underneath the tree and just stay there for a while, possibly get some sleep. So I walk around this thing like 3 times, and every time I found one way in. It was a short climb, but every time I walked around, all of a sudden there'd be a line of cars that come out of nowhere, and just a traffic jam in that spot. It was like they knew that this was a safe area for me, and they couldn't get in. It was like holy ground in a way. So I do it enough times, and then all of a sudden I hear the word "go" in my head. I scale the wall, scale the fence. I get in the park, underneath the tree, where there's nobody around. There's no tourists, and nobody can get in this place. So I'm sitting there for like a half hour. I'm like, you know what? I'm probably gonna end up sleeping here. I'm probably gonna end up sleeping here. I'm curled up. Yeah, I'm curled up underneath the tree. The tree's low hanging like this, like really low hanging, with the leaves and everything. There's a bush right in front of me. And then off on the main street, as I'm watching these groups of people go past, it's like 10, 11 o'clock at night. I hear these two guys in perfect English from across where I'm at. I'm in all this camo, completely covered, and I hear the words, well, they stop, they look, and like, and I hear the words, oh, he's in there. Why in English? Why could they see me? I've had 12 years of fantastic military training. I know for a fact they cannot see me. Okay, I've been spotted. I'm like, They walk away, and then I start getting this feeling like I should move, and I should move quickly. So about 5 minutes goes by, and all these people are still walking past, and I'm waiting for an opportunity, and I hear the word "go," and I run towards this statue. It's all lit up, by the way. Spotlights on it everywhere. I scale the side of the monument. There are angels, concrete angels about my height, all the way around. And one part I picked as I hop over the first lining of the monument, get through a little moat area, and scale up the side, and I stand directly behind one of the angels. This is a very true story. As I'm standing behind the angel, perfectly still, someone just says, "Stay there, stay there, stay there." Then all of a sudden I hear police sirens. Okay? The police then come up to the park. They come inside the park and make a beeline directly for the tree that I was under. Like, as I'm watching it, and I'm behind an angel, behind the angel, just watching, not moving anything, just my eyes. I'm watching this happen. And they look around with the flashlights. They look around the park. And then they decide to go. Figure, I left. Meanwhile, I'm about 20 feet up, hiding behind an angel. Angels are watching over me, I swear. And I stay up there for at least 2 to 3 hours. And I had incense in my bag, more frankincense, out of all things. Don't remember where I got it from. I had frankincense. And as I'm standing there, I hear the words, "Light the incense." I'm like, eh. And I go to look behind me, and inside the monument is this perfect bronze bowl, about yay big, directly underneath, like there's supposed to be a flame that comes out of this at some point. I don't know. I've never seen it lit. Whenever it's lit, I probably haven't lit it in forever. So I take all of my incense, I put it in the bowl, and then I light it. I light the incense in this monument while I'm hiding behind concrete angels as the police are looking for me because 2 random guys found me hiding under the tree in complete camo and then called it out in English, out of all things. That's the recap. Okay, so so I light the incense, and it's like I'm cleansing the area. I'm just cleansing. And I'm feeling better, and all the people, they start to dissipate. All the groups of people with the same faces, they start to dissipate, and then the streets empty out, and it's just cold. It's just cold. I mean, bone-chilling cold. And I said I've known cold in the past, but this was on a whole another level. And finally I heard the words, "Get down." So I got down. I exited the same way I came up. I got around to the side of the street on the walkway for the river. I made it down onto the main platform where the river's at. And then I walked down for about 1 kilometer until I found a bridge, walked across that bridge, and I went up to, so I got to a random road and just started following it until I got to a high point where I can kind of overlook the city. But it was like every time I tried to figure out a way out, it was like I kept getting turned around. It was really weird. So then I heard the words, "Follow the train tracks." I'm like, okay. I found a set of train tracks, and I just started following it. And I walked 20 kilometers the very first night out of Prague. And so all that stuff went down. I didn't even tell you the first half of the story. I started in the middle. The other half is just as strange. So I then walk down the tracks, 20 kilometers. I am tired. I am just beyond tired. At one point, it felt like somebody was picking up my legs and like walking them for me, like underneath, holding my thighs and just like walking me. I walked. And then I couldn't walk anymore. I was like, you know what? Tonight's the night that I go, so be it. I made my peace. On the side of the railroad tracks, out of the way of the train, of course, I collapsed. And I slept next to a tiny like covert bridge thing, right? And I was on top of the bridge, and I was just laid out like this, just out. And the last thing I remember, it was dark out. And then, out of nowhere, I heard, however many hours later, no idea, I woke up to the sound of, hey, are you okay? I opened my eyes, and I'm looking at this very slender, tall figure, like maybe like 6.5 feet tall. No, I'm almost 6 foot. No, almost 7 feet tall. And I look up, and I'm thinking, is that death? Huh. This doesn't seem so bad. So I think I'm looking at the Grim Reaper because he's got something in his hand that resembles like kind of like the sheath. What is it called? You know, the Grim Reaper has got his the sow, right? I think it's called that. He's holding in his hand something to drag some like luggage behind, but in the moment I just see him holding a pole, like part of the pole, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm good. And he's just looking at me, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, all I see is just death. Like I just see death, and I'm like, can I have some tea? completely oblivious to what is happening in the world right now. I just want tea. And I'm looking up at the Grim Reaper and I'm asking the Grim Reaper for tea. He says, okay, come with me. So I stand up and I follow him maybe 150 meters, 200 meters, and make a right into this trail and like into the woods. Now it is foggy, it is cold, there's a mist there, you know, there's like just a very eerie mist. Like if there was ever a set of woods that was just cursed on this planet, it was this place. So we go into this this rectangle thing of a house. It's like the size of a Connex. He opens up the curtain, which is a blanket, or the door, which is a blanket, heavy blanket, and he's got the fireplace going. Everything was like kind of like restored to handmade, or like he's been there for a very long time. And this gentleman is so frail, even though he's about maybe my age. Like he just looks like death, just like a skin on skeleton. He sets me by a chair by the fireplace, throws some wood in there, makes up some tea, gives me some blankets, and I try to talk to him, but there's like 3 or 4 different voices going on in his head. He's speaking Czech, he's speaking German, he's speaking a little bit of English, and then he's turning on Metallica at the same time, the music. So all this is going, and the only thing I catch at it, like he's trying to talk to me, but it's like I have to pay attention to 3 different personalities happening. And then the music, and then I hear him say, "Arbeit macht frei." And I'm like, that's an odd thing to say. In German, that means work makes you free. Okay, I know I've seen that someplace. Ding. Concentration camps. The main gates welded into the steel bars. I've seen personally at the Dachau camp. Arbeit macht frei. That's a weird thing to say, but it stuck with me the entire time. I felt comfortable there. Death had then served me tea, put some honey inside, set up a sleeping bag on the floor, and I went to sleep for 36 hours. He would constantly go in and out, bringing in new stuff, new bags and whatnot. It was like he was collecting the gear, the souls, as they were coming out of the city, and they were perishing. They were just like, I had to question whether or not I was in like this in between heaven and hell stage. I'm like, maybe I am dead. I don't really know. But clearly he knows the exact time because he kept saying he has work to do. He has work to do. And would leave the place and then come back with more stuff. It was like he was collecting souls. I don't know. And then halfway through, I remember him throwing on the shirt. And the shirt was that of a full skeleton. As far as the autonomy, right? Just head, chest, like everything, right? Just a, like out of all things, to just throw that on, just to say, hey, yes, I really am the Grim Reaper. So 36 hours passed. I finally wake up and I start feeling good, and I tell him I need to start moving, and all of it, I have it stuck in my head. Okay, I have to walk back to Germany because I feel like everything is hunting me out of Prague. And man, was I right after that. Ooh, was I correct. Oh, that's a whole other story in itself. This can go on for a long time. So I asked Death if he has an extra backpack and sleeping bag for me. And he packs me a to-go bag. I got a 3-day go bag. If you're in the military, you know what a 3-day go bag is. And he says that it's going to snow very soon. Seagulls. It's going to snow very soon, like starting in a couple hours. I'm like, oh, I hope not. I hope not. No, don't want to do with that. I'm not going to let it snow. He gives me the bag. I didn't know he packed in some food as well. Ham and cheese and half a thing of bread. Now, I have no documentation, no money, no nothing. And I'm like, I'll figure it out as I went along. It took me 15 or 16 days to walk from, well, starting in Prague, to the border of Deutschland. And every day was an adventure then. I was under the worst possible circumstances someone could be homeless. But I made it through every single challenge. I acquired stuff as I needed to. Legally, not legally. Sometimes you just gotta eat. But I was very thankful for meeting Death. He took care of me. And before I left, I swear to you, he gave me a little pendant. It was like a little necklace. I don't know where, whatever. On it was that of an angel and that of a coin, one of the saints. And then I'm starting to think in my head, I'm like, you know, the story, the Greek or Roman philosophy or whatever it was, that in order to cross the river Styx, I think it was, yeah, you have to pay the boatman. It's like he was giving me that coin to give the boatman in order to make sure my safe travels was going to be authorized. And I felt like the tracks were the only thing, the only neutral thing in this entire evil land of Czech, or coming out of Prague, out of hell, that was the beeline that connected heaven and hell. I'm like, okay, if I stay on the tracks, everything will be fine. If I step outside the rails, then can get pulled in either direction. And narrow is the path, as Christ once said. So, that is part of my story in Prague that sparked a lot of this current situation right now. And I am definitely blessed to be in this situation compared to what I was. Like this sleeping bag, okay? This sleeping bag right here. I will never part with this thing. This thing is the most comfortable thing on the planet. I found it on day number 5 on the walk back along the train tracks. Because the other sleeping bag, I think it lasted like one day. The zippers wouldn't, right? It was one of like 20-euro ones. This one is worth like 400 to 500 euro. It kept me warm the entire time, and I kept praying every day for 2 things. One was a sleeping bag and or a tent. I got the items that I needed. First came the sleeping bag. You know where I found it? I found it in a safe house that was in the middle of nowhere, along the tracks, that was stuffed with clothes and blankets and all kinds of things, all kinds of supplies. But everything looked like it was there for at least a year or two. And I started putting it all together. Do you remember when Russia and Belarus started that weird game of let's put everybody at the border and like ship people out of Iraq and Syria and make up that human line, right? And then Ukraine kicked off. In that era, okay, whether it was coming out of the Middle East, which based upon, is this in Russian? I think this is, no, the sleeping bag is, some of the words are in Russian, or let's say Ukrainian for that matter. This house, this abandoned place, was a refugee site, and based upon everything that was in there, the food and everything, I would say it was not Middle Eastern groups. Definitely Ukrainian refugees were in this place, and this is where they kind of shed all their unwanted weight. And one of them left behind this sleeping bag. So, because of the Ukrainian conflict, I now have a permanent sleeping bag that's with me here in Sicily. Yeah, so this is one of my stories. There's many, many, many more. All right, guys. Ciao, ciao.